Welcome back to OT Sports. Today we got our Week 3 college basketball Power 40 rankings. I just want to say real quick, this video might be a little bit of a shorter vid just because I'm actually going to leave for the airport in like an hour, but I'm trying to get this video up in time. And yeah, so just be aware. I am going to be out of town this week, but you guys will still be getting college football tomorrow and college and the NFL on Wednesday. So you guys can still look forward to that. No NBA this Thursday, but normally we would have it. So make sure you subscribe so make sure you don't miss out on any of those videos. But let's just get right into the rankings. There's not going to be any like up and down arrows, kind of how I do for college football, like where they were last week, now this week, just because I didn't really have time. But next week I will for sure have those in here. But at number 40, I actually have Oklahoma. They've been pretty impressive. They're 4-0. They're in the they haven't really played anyone, but they've looked pretty good in all their games. They've won by the least amount of points they've won by is like 24. Again, I know they haven't played anyone. They'll have a pretty good test against Iowa this Thursday. We'll see how that plays out. Number 39, I got Villanova. They lose to Penn. So pretty tough loss. They did beat Maryland. Maryland was a team I'm pretty high on, but as of right now, they've looked pretty bad. They're 1-3. So they're in the battle for Atlantis, so they're gonna have a chance to prove themselves here this week in the battle for Atlantis tournament. There's some good teams in there, so we'll see how they do against them. Their first game is against Texas Tech. Hopefully, they can get that win. James Madison, I have moving down quite a bit. I kind of just overreacted to them beating Michigan State. I'm gonna say it right now. It's probably a fluke game. Uh, they barely beat Radford at home. They barely beat Kent State. So I'm not really too sure how good this team realistically is. So I have them all the way down at 38 now. I'm still gonna keep them in the top 40 if they keep on winning, but I can't really put them any higher. I don't know. They got to keep proving it to me. Clemson is still undefeated. They're 4-0, so they move up a little bit. They've got some wins. They beat Boise State pretty handily. That was a good win. They play Alabama. That is next week, though, so we'll kind of see what they're made of in that game. Northwestern have actually been pretty good. A little better than I thought. They took down Dayton. I wasn't expecting them to win that one. They do lose to Mississippi State. We'll talk about them in a little bit. But yeah, they're 4-1. They have a good win. They're looking like a tournament team so far. Providence at 35. They are also 4-1 with a loss to Kansas State, which I have right ahead of them in overtime. They did beat Wisconsin and Georgia, a Georgia team who has actually been doing okay. They've been playing some good teams pretty close. So I like what I've seen from Providence so far. Kansas State at 34, like I said, they did beat Providence. They are 3-2, but their losses are against USC and Miami. The Miami game they almost fought back in. They came a bit short, but they're still looking like a pretty good team. They have a nice win, and their two losses. I know they do have two losses, but they're both two teams I have in the top 25. Oregon is 3-0. They took down Georgia first game of the year. Looked pretty good doing so, and they've ran through Montana and Tennessee State. They've been looking pretty good. I like what I've seen from Oregon. Iowa State at 32. The defense looks like probably the best or second best in the country right now. I know they haven't played anyone, but they look really good. They have a chance to play VCU. VCU is not a bad team. So we'll see how they fare in that game. They are in the ESPN Invitational Tournament, I'm pretty sure it's called. So they'll play some good teams in there. Hopefully, we'll get to see what they're kind of made of. TCU is 4-0. They have been running through a bunch of nobodies, and it doesn't look like they play anyone until December when they have to play Georgetown, Clemson, Arizona State. So they should keep on winning. Auburn sitting at 30. They've been looking pretty good. Their only loss is to Baylor. That puts them at 3-1. They did beat Notre Dame pretty handily and St. Bonaventure. they've been looking pretty good. I like what I've seen from Auburn. They probably should have won the game against Baylor. They were the better team in the game. They did come up just a bit short. That Baylor came back late in the game and they did steal it from them. But Auburn's still looking like a very good team. Mississippi State at 29. They last week they played in the Basketball Hall of Fame tip-off. They took down Washington State and Northwestern. Northwestern is a team in my top 40, so I really like that win. I have them here at 29. They could definitely be higher. They're actually ranked 25 in the AP poll. I was thinking about it, but I can't put them higher than the teams ahead of them. I really did want to because I like them, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I have San Diego State sitting at 4-1 at number 28. Their loss coming to BYU, who's been pretty good. They did dominate St. Mary's. Now St. Mary's has been kind of a letdown to start the year. They're 2-3 now, I believe, and they just beat Washington in overtime. Washington's actually been having a pretty good year so far. Their only losses to San Diego State in overtime and Nevada. Nevada was probably my number 41 team, so they are like right there. And they did beat Xavier, who's a pretty good team. Washington's actually not a bad team, and San Diego State took them down in overtime, so I like that one. BYU at 27, they're 4-0, and again, they have a win over San Diego State. That's a pretty big win. I gotta respect them. They're still undefeated. UCLA at 26, they are also still undefeated, 3-0, but they have a game against Marquette tonight. It's a really late one. Should be a fun game to watch. I don't expect them to win, but if they can keep it close, they're in the Maui Invitational. That tournament is stacked, by the way. You got Tennessee, Gonzaga, Purdue, Kansas, UCLA, and Marquette all in there. Not to mention Syracuse. Syracuse could get sneaky, and then they have like some random team like Chatham-ine. I don't even know what their name is. If UCLA plays good, well, I'm interested to see how they play against Marquette because Marquette is a top 5 team in my eyes. So we'll kind of see how that's looking for them. Yeah, I'm interested to see. I didn't mean to go backwards. Number 25, we got the Arkansas Razorbacks. They kind of disappointed me. They did lose to UNC Greensboro at home. Pretty tough loss. But they're going to be in the battle for Atlantis as well, so they'll be able to show what they're made of. There's, again, quite a few teams in that tournament. We'll kind of see what they're made of. They do play Duke next week as well. So we're going to see how good Arkansas really is. If that was kind of a fluke game, I don't know. We'll see. Same with USC. They lose to UC Irvine at home. I don't know what that was about. I had USC all the way up at 11 last week. They dropped down to 24. That was a bad loss. They play Seton Hall, a team who's undefeated, this Thursday. We'll see how they do in that one. FAU, another one of these teams, losing to Bryant at home. I don't know how that happens. They didn't look like the same team from last year in that game. I wasn't watching the whole thing. I turned it on when it was close at the end. They just didn't look very good. They do play Butler this week in the ESPN Events Invitational. That should be a pretty good tournament. There's a few pretty good teams. I think Michigan's in there. I think no, Michigan might be in the battle for Atlantis, but if I do remember correctly, there is some ranked teams in there for sure. I can't really remember who. I'm gonna try and find it really quick before I move on. Let's see. ESPN Invitational. Yeah, you got Texas A&M, Iowa State. Those are just to name a few. There's some good teams. Penn State, VCU, Butler, Boise State, Virginia Tech, all pretty solid teams, but Texas A&M is really the big dog, and Iowa State's pretty good too. So that, yeah, there's some good teams. We'll see how they do there. Illinois, I have moving down to 1. They lose to Marquette, but it was a pretty close game. I'm not going to fault them too much. Marquette's a really good team. Michigan State drops another one to Duke, but they do look very good against Butler and Alcorn State. I kind of liked seeing that just because I was getting worried. They have a game against Arizona coming up. That's going to be a tough one. I hope they can pull it off because with 3 losses this early in the season, it's going to continue to be hard to justify putting them here. They do need kind of a win for their resume. Texas at 20, I dropped them down a few. They need a buzzer beater to beat Louisville. Louisville is a team that won four games last year, so you can't be doing that. They do play UConn. I actually think they have a shot at winning this, surprising as it is to say. I don't know. I like how they match up against UConn. I think Max Abmas could have a big day. I think they definitely have a shot in that game. I wouldn't count them out. Virginia, I have these two ACC schools finally in the top 25. Virginia at 19, they beat Florida a little bit earlier in the year. I like that win. They play Wisconsin today. We'll see. They're in the Fort Myers tip-off. Wisconsin's not a bad team. We'll see how they do there. UNC at 18. They've looked alright through 3 games. I'd like to see a little bit more. They're in the battle for Atlantis, so we will get to see more from them. See how they play against some of those good teams in there. I forget who's in the battle for Atlantis, but Villanova's in there. Arkansas, Memphis, um, Michigan, and Texas Tech. Those are all some pretty good teams, so we'll see. Yeah, speaking of Memphis, they're right here at 17. They play Michigan on Wednesday. That'll be a good test for them, but I'm really liking what I've seen from this Memphis team. They look very good. I have them. I'm kind of high on them. I have them all the way at 17. Alabama at 16. They've dominated through nobodies throughout the year. The offense looked very good for them. They play Ohio State this Friday. We'll see how they do there. That could be a tough game. Ohio State's not a horrible team. I do expect them to win, though. They've looked very good. Colorado, I have all the way up at 15, kind of just by virtue of teams in front of them losing, but they've looked very good in their own right. They're in the Sunshine Slam. I don't know if there's any good teams in there. I don't think there really is. I think Florida State's in there, but yeah, I don't know how many really good teams that are in there. So I would like to see them play a good team, but I don't know. We'll see how they if they continue to win, then obviously they're gonna move down if they lose. Kentucky at 14. I actually moved them up a little after they lost to Kansas. It was a very close game. Kentucky was actually winning for a lot of that game. It was a pretty back and forth game. I thought Kentucky was gonna come away with this one. They were in it for pretty much the entire game. They were leading the game by 6 with 5 minutes left. I thought Kentucky was gonna win. Uh, they were leading by 6 with 3 minutes left. Excuse me. Kansas did end up winning. They couldn't really do anything against Hunter Dickinson, so hopefully their big men can start to come into their own a little. Um, but Kentucky was very impressive. I moved them up even though they lost. Baylor at 13. I'm liking what I'm seeing from them. They have the win over Auburn. They do play in the NIT season tip-off. I don't know how many good teams are are in this tournament. It does have them against Oregon State to start off. I don't even know if it's a tournament. I can't really find anything with what I'm looking at for Baylor. It does have Florida and Pitt, so those are two pretty good teams actually. But I do expect them to win that tournament. Texas A&M at 12. They play in a pretty good tournament. Um, we talked about this earlier. Who were they? Who was? They were in the ESPN Invitational with teams like Iowa State and FIU. I do expect them to win, though. They've looked very good. Gonzaga might have the best offense in the country, as crazy as it is to say with losing Drew Timme. But yeah, I have them at 11. Through 2 games, they look very good. They have a game against Purdue today. Very interested to see how that one plays out. We're going to learn a lot about both those teams. Moving into the top 10. I got Miami at 10. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from them. Nigel Pack's really stepping up, and I mean, yeah, they just have been very solid to start the year. They're 5-0. They have some pretty good wins over Georgia and Kansas State. They play Kentucky next week, so they won't have a game for 9 days. That could hurt them. I could definitely see Kentucky winning that game. I think Kentucky probably will. I think it's in Kentucky as well, so that could come back to hurt them. Duke, I have at 9 still. They didn't lose, so and they did pick up a nice win against Michigan State, but the teams ahead of them also didn't lose, so I couldn't really find any way to move them up. Tennessee is 3-0. They have a nice win over Wisconsin. They play in the Maui Invitational, so we're gonna see how good they really are. Their first game is against Syracuse. They should win that. I could see an upset, but I'm not gonna sit here and say that they're gonna lose that. But yeah, like I said, Kansas, they're gonna have to play either Purdue or Gonzaga in the second round if they beat Syracuse. So that's already, and even if they lose to Syracuse, they're going to have to play Purdue or Gonzaga, whoever loses. So either way, we're going to get a pretty good game there for Tennessee to see how good Tennessee is. And then if they keep on winning, they could have potentially have a game against Marquette or Kansas coming up. So yeah, we will definitely see Tennessee. There's so many good teams in the Maui Invitational this year. 6 of them are in my top 26. So that, I mean, that just tells you right there. Um, well, I'm looking at it right now. 4 of them are in my top 10, and one of them is number 11. So 5 teams in my top 11 are in this tournament. So we will really get to see who who is legit through this tournament. I'm very excited to see how that plays out. Creighton, 7. They're undefeated 4-0. They have a nice one over Iowa. I want to see a little bit more from them. I think we will end up seeing that. But yeah, I kind of need a little bit more from them. They're playing in the Hall of Fame Classic, so there's not too many good teams there. They should end up winning that tournament. Um, Houston at 6, they're looking like they have the best defense in the country. They just took down Utah and Dayton to win the Charleston Classic, so good for them. UConn at number 5. I really like what I've seen from them. They just dominated Indiana, and they have a game against Texas today. That could be a very good game. I really want to see how they do there. I'll definitely be watching that one. Marquette at number 4. They beat Illinois on the road. That was a pretty big statement win. And they have a game against UCLA today, and then potentially a game against Kansas tomorrow if they were to win that. So we're going to really see what Marquette's made of in this tournament. I definitely think they could give Kansas a run for their money. I mean, 3 of the top 4 teams in my top 4 are in the Maui Invitational. Not to mention, you still have teams like UCLA is a very good team. They could give Marquette some problems. Tennessee and Gonzaga as well, and Syracuse could be sneaky. So yes, this tournament is going to be great. Again, we're going to have some huge changes next week just because of all the Feast Week tournaments. Arizona has a game against Michigan State this Thursday. I do expect them to win, but I'm interested to see how well they play. Again, they keep on winning. I'm really liking what I've seen from them. Purdue has a game against Gonzaga today. I want to see how the guards play for them. That will be huge because that was kind of their problem last year. They didn't have really anyone else around Zach Edey to help him. So we'll see how they do there. And then Kansas, huge win against Kentucky in the Champions Classic. They looked very good. Hunter Dickinson could potentially win National Player of the Year. He's going to have to compete with Zach Edey. And we might be able to see these two play against each other if they were to both make the finals. That would be 1 versus 2 here in the Maui Gym Invitational. That could be, that could potentially be a national championship preview. These two teams are very good, but again, I want to see some more from Purdue, and I just want to see Kansas keep playing. I want to see Hunter Dickinson continue to be consistent. I do expect them. I mean, I would say they are the best team. I mean, I have them at one, so I would expect them to win the tournament. But again, they're gonna have to get through Marquette, and then probably Purdue, Gonzaga, or Tennessee. So those are gonna be tough games. Um, so yeah, we'll see. This is a huge week for college basketball. It's feast week. You got all the tournaments. I'm very interested to see how they all play out. We're gonna have some huge changes to to cover next week, and we're gonna know a lot more about all these teams next week. I'm very excited for next Monday. Um, so yeah, again, we have make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed. We have college basketball every Monday, college football every Tuesday, NFL every Wednesday, and then NBA every Thursday. No NBA this week, unfortunately, because I had to pre-record all of them, and then just based on the formatting, there was not really a way I could do NBA 4 days in advance. So there's no NBA this Thursday, but every other Thursday there will be. So yeah, make sure you subscribe, turn on the notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on any of those videos. Um, Hope you guys enjoyed this one. As always, my X and Discord are linked in the description. You can follow that. You can join that. Whatever you'd like to do. And yeah, I think that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow with college football. Enjoy your feast week tournaments. They should be pretty fun to watch.